Good afternoon, everyone. This is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews. And today I have on my channel, Darliss Batchelor. Welcome.
Thank you, Queenie.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well.
All right. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I am a wife, mother, and grandmother. I've been writing probably for about 15 years. It took me a long time to get my first book out, but so it sounds like I've been writing longer than I have. But anyhow, I used to be a computer programmer analyst, and I felt called from my career to write, and so that's what I've been doing for that length of time. I'm also a publisher. I publish a few people from time to time, and that's pretty much about me.
Okay. What is your genre?
I generally write women's and Christian fiction.
Okay.
I am considering trying some other things at some point. Actually, I did with the group project, we did write a romance. But those are generally my genres, is women's fiction and Christian fiction.
Would you like to talk about your books now?
Sure. I have 7 of them.
Okay.
One of them is only available in ebook, so I don't have a physical book to show you. But this is my first book. It's Secrets, and it is really a story about a church family, and it kind of shows us what effect our secrets have on how people see us and on how we interact with other people. People sometimes come to some conclusions about us because they don't know our secrets. And they're wrong. But, I just wanted to show just how that can impact not only people individually, but even people within a church family.
Yes.
My second book is Hell is a Skyscraper, a trio of novelettes. There are 3 stories in this book. One of them is called Mother May I, and it is about a teenage girl who really has the world at her feet. She is a dynamic student. She has aspirations of becoming a journalist. She has a scholarship. However, there are some things that are going on in her home with her family that cause her to wonder if maybe she should put her dreams off until those things are resolved. Another story in this book is called Twice Bitten, and it's about a woman who becomes an empty nester. The story opens with her last daughter, her last child, leaving the nest, and how she's a little resentful of that. And she's looking for some excitement in her life. And because she spent all of her life mothering and wifing, and she left behind her career to do so, and she's a little resentful. And she looks for some excitement that she feels like her husband can't give her. And she does find it in a man who she had in a racial relationship with prior. So it kind of presents a dilemma as to what she should do going forward so that she can be satisfied and happy in her life. The third story is called Dimitri's Diary. And it's about a young man who he's had some tremendous problems in his life growing up, and some things happened that really should not have happened to him. And it tells the story from an adult perspective. The character's name is Dimitri, and it talks about the story is written from his perspective as an adult. That's what I'm trying to say. And so it is a really good story. People kind of shy away from this book, but it has some really good writing in it. Okay. My next book is Something Else to Want. It's a shorter story, and it really it's a prequel really for one of the stories that's in Hell is a Skyscraper. There's a character in Hell is a Skyscraper that she is mean. She is evil. And I felt led to write this book to answer the question, what happened to her? Why was she so mean? So this book follows a character named Neely who is presented in Dimitri's diary.
Okay.
That was part of the previous book I showed you. This book, The Make-Believe Wives, this is a book that I honestly just did not see myself writing it. The whole time I was writing it, I'm thinking, I don't know. I don't know about this one. But it has turned out to be the book that is really a fan favorite. And it's about a woman who she gets married really early. Like she goes from graduation gown to wedding gown all in the same summer. And her and her husband, they have children very quickly. And she gets to a point where she says, you know, I don't even know who I am. I never dated anybody else but you. I need something else and I need a break. I need to go away to find myself. And her husband says, no, that's not going to happen. But she ends up getting the break that she desires, but in a way she doesn't anticipate it. And so while she's away, the babysitter for the children that had been in their lives since they were born, she kind of steps in just to kind of kind of level off some rough spaces for the children because they don't know where their mother is. And of course, a relationship, not really a relationship, but feelings kind of develop between the husband and the babysitter. And then mom comes back. And so this book kind of, you kind of be careful what you ask for. She asked for the break, she got it, but not the way she wanted. And it kind of shows a lot about marriage and boundaries in marriage and that kind of thing. So this has been a real fan favorite and a surprise for me because, like I said, this was not a book that I really would have thought I've written, but it's a fantastic book. My next one is The Make-Believe Family. It is the sequel to The Make-Believe Wives. And it is about the babysitter and her love interest. This book, it kind of shows our families are not always the people that are related to us by blood. And there's a lot of drama that's in this book. And this is Faith's story. If you've read The Make-Believe Wives, this is Faith's story. So this is I guess this would be my fifth book. Mm-hmm. My newest book is What is God's Name? And I released it in November. And I haven't really done a good job of promoting this book. But this book is about Nevaeh. Nevaeh is she's a young woman. She's 18 years old. And all she wants is a father. She never knew her father. She's been told that her father is deceased. And so she wants a father. And not only that, but she wants her mother to have a husband. And her mother does develop a relationship with the man and they get married. But the dream that Nevaeh had of having a daddy becomes a nightmare. And so this story kind of follows what happens to her after that discovery. And also it kind of answers the question, she doesn't know God. And so having gone through all of the difficulties that she's gone through, she finally finds out who God is. And so this is my most recent book, and it's really kind of special to me, not only because of the story, but one of the characters in this book, his name is Art. And I named him after my father. My father passed away while I was writing this book. And so I had to give a character a name after my father. So that's my newest book.
Okay, why did you name it the title you did?
I can't always explain why I name books the way that I do. It's just something that came to me. Okay. But I think it's because she didn't know who God was. And so that was a unique way of putting the fact that she didn't know who God was.
Mm-hmm. Now, before we move on,
okay,
you're going to be at CBLR in October with that book?
I am.
All right. When did you first realize you wanted to be an author?
I started having, I've always been a really big reader. I'm told that my mom used to read for me from the time I was born. So I've always been a book person.
Mm-hmm.
I would say when I started having these dreams, and it was about a story called The Waiting Room. And I thought, well, God, how am I supposed to present this? Is this a play? Because I was being presented with the idea, with the vision.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just kind of started writing it. It's something that I never published. I never finished it. And then God began to give me poetry. So I've written some poetry, not a lot, but some poetry. And then when I quit my job, my husband and I were on a cruise, and I was like, I just don't know what to do with myself. I feel like I've been running down this highway, chasing this career for all this time, and now all of a sudden I'm not working. What do you want me to do, God? And the idea for my first book, Secrets, just dropped into my spirit, and all the characters and what was going on in their lives. So it wasn't necessarily that I wanted to be an author. I mean, I enjoy it, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't something that I was aspiring to do. It was just something that God called me to do.
Okay. Can you tell me what is your definition of the difference between a writer and an author?
That is a very good question. That's a question I've asked myself as well. I don't know. I don't know what the difference is between the two, because I would say they both do the same thing.
That's what I thought.
Everybody, if you're writing, you're creating. Mm-hmm. And if you're, it's the same. I would say it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just know some people, they coin themselves as writers, and then other ones coin themselves, I'm an author. I'm not a writer, I'm an author. And I was like, I don't know to find out what the difference is.
Right. Mm-hmm. I really don't think there is one. I think the two terms can be used interchangeably.
Okay. How long does it take you to write a book?
Usually maybe it takes a year, although last year I wrote 2 books. I don't know how I did that, but last year I wrote 2 books. But, I would say usually a year, depending on the length of the book and how much of the book I already have written. Because sometimes I have ideas for a book, and I'll just open a file and I'll begin to dump information into it as I receive it. And so then when I go back to write that book, it doesn't take me as long because I have, a lot of the information already established. So I would say a year from start to finish, but if I already have some information down on it, it can take a little less than that.
Okay. What is your work schedule like when you're writing?
Well, this is my job. I am a full-time writer. So I don't have, a schedule where I have to go to do a 9 to 5 and, fit writing around it. Mm-hmm. So that's a real blessing. Mm-hmm. But it can also be a little bit of a problem, because when you have a lot of time, you think you have a lot of time. When you don't have parameters where you have to meet certain deadlines and that kind of thing, that can be a problem. But so I spend a good part of my day working on projects. I would say that I don't have a particular amount of time that I write, but I do spend a good part of my day on writing activities.
Where do you get your information or ideas from when writing a book?
Those ideas can come from anywhere. I was actually, the book, What is God's Name, came about because I was watching CNN, as I do quite often, and there was something that came across. No, it wasn't CNN, not for this book I did. This was TLC. And there was a commercial about a show, and I don't even remember what show it was, but there was a cult involved. And there were people that, were trying to break out of the cult and that kind of thing. And for some reason, it just struck me. And so actually, What is God's Name does involve a cult. And so that's kind of where I got the idea from. I had to get Nevaeh from in a bad situation so that she would go somewhere where she would be able to get the help she needed. So, or the help she thought she needed. So yes, that's where I got that idea from. Some other ideas I get from just news stories. Sometimes friends are going through certain situations and I kind of Darlissize the situation and, you know, put my own spin on it so that they don't know it's about them. So
yeah.
Ideas can come from anywhere.
What do you do when you're not writing?
I do a lot of reading. I have a grandson. I do spend some time with him and my husband, and you know, I'm trying to do some ministry and other church activities and that kind of thing. So there's a number of things that I do when I'm not writing. But like I said before, the bulk of my time I'm writing.
Okay. What are you currently reading now?
I am reading, what is it called? Two-Sided Heart by, I believe it's Patricia Ann Phillips. I think that's the name of that book.
Okay.
Two-Sided Heart. Yes, I believe that's the name of it. And I'm quite enjoying it. It's a long story. I've been reading it for a minute, but I'm enjoying it.
Mm-hmm. Out of all the books you've written, who is your favorite? Which one is your favorite or your baby?
Oh, wow. I would say I have two favorites. And it's difficult to pick a favorite child, right?
Yep.
But I would say I have two favorites. My first favorite would be Secrets. And that is because it's my first book. And that is because that's another reason is because people seem to get a lot of ministry from that book. Mm-hmm. I hid that book for a while because, you know, I didn't know a lot about writing, and I'm still learning, mm-hmm. but I didn't know a lot about writing. And so I was kind of, you know, insecure about it. But mm-hmm. people who read it, they just really just get a lot out of it. And people have been asking me for a sequel. And I just might do that next year. We'll see, because it'll be the 10-year anniversary for that book.
Oh,
my other favorite is The Make-Believe Wives, ironically, even though that was a book that I really wasn't so sure about. But it's a really, really good story. And people love it. And I realized that, you know, controversy sells. And so that is my second favorite book.
Okay. Now, if one of my subscribers see you and never heard from you before, what would be the one book they should start with?
I would tell them to start with The Make-Believe Wives. I would. Because like I said, that tends to be the book that people just, you know, I write other books, but people always want The Make-Believe Wives. You know, they're always asking me about that book. And mm-hmm. so I would say The Make-Believe Wives, I think, is some of my best writing. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you think makes a good story?
I think a good story has to draw you in and not let you go until the end. I think a good story has to be one where you don't want to put it down and you hate that you have to at times just to go to sleep or go to work or whatever. I think it has to have enough drama in it to keep you interested. But at the same time, I think you have to learn something from it. You have to come away with a message. I think that's the most important thing. It has to have some sort of message, even if it's something that is just really minute. I think it has to have something that stays with you, that you can take with you and that will apply to your life in some way, shape, or form.
Now, you talked about one of your characters you named after your father who passed while you were writing the book. Mm-hmm. How are your characters inspired?
Usually, I get the idea for the book and then the characters kind of, I create the characters as I need to. If I understood your question was how my characters are inspired.
Yeah. Yes. How do you? Yes.
Yeah. Usually they come about as the plot develops. You know, I say, okay, I need somebody to be married to this person, or I need someone to work with this person, or I need this person to have a best friend. So that's kind of how my characters are inspired. There are some characters that are inspired by people that I know. I dare not say who those people are or what books they're in. But sometimes there are people that I know, little pieces of characteristics from other people. Sometimes, I think sometimes they're a part of me. I find it very difficult to believe that someone could have a book flow through them and there's none of them in it. So I think there's a little piece of me, and actually in my first book, Secrets, there is a character that is very much like me. And I will say, for those who have maybe read Secrets, it is not Cassandra. Cassandra is the vixen. That is not me. But there's another character that is like me and is like my mother. And so characters come about from a lot of different places. But like I said, I think that a lot of them have a little bit of me in them.
What's the best way to market your books?
I have found that social media is very important. From my perspective, I'm not proficient at that at this point, but I do a lot of live events in my area. I get out in the public and, do, little other author events. I shouldn't have said little. I do other author events and that kind of thing. There's an author expo or something. I do that too. And I think a lot of times when you do that, people really do get to know you. They see your face, and you actually have a one-on-one conversation with them about whatever it is. And so I think those two are the best ways to market books. Social media and live events, I think, are the best way, because you can get a wider reach through social media than you can do with live events. But I actually, if I'm honest, I actually prefer live events.
Okay. Do you read your book reviews, and how do you deal with good ones and bad ones?
I do read them. And I will tell you, the first time I got a bad one, my feelings were hurt. And I thought, and I really, honestly, it kind of made me want to go back and fix the book, change it so this one person would be satisfied. And I just thought to myself, no, every book is not for everybody.
Yes.
And many times you don't know that until after you've read it. And so I just have to say, you know what, that just wasn't a good book for them. It just wasn't. The good reviews, yeah, they feel real good. They do. They feel real good, and it kind of keeps me encouraged to keep moving forward. But the bad reviews, I'm better. I'm getting better at dealing with that.
Okay. Do your family support you as an author?
Yes. Now, you know what? Support comes in so many different ways. Like my husband, he hasn't read a word I've written. He's just not a reader. But he makes it so I can write, full time. And when I do go out to author events, many times he is with me. So, support comes in so many different ways. And so that his support is very important. It's different than what other people may see support. But some family members are readers of my book. Some are not. And so I understand that, because reading isn't everybody's thing. Everybody isn't into books, but, so I don't hold that against anyone. But yeah, my family supports me in the way that they can.
What is your motivation to write?
I just have these stories, and I have to tell them. I just have to tell them. There are times when I'm sleeping, and a character decides to start talking to me. So, I mean, I just feel compelled to tell these stories that, you know, are on my heart or come to my mind or whatever. And I love it. I do. I enjoy it. There are moments that, you know, I feel like I need to back away from it, just take a break or two. But in general, I love it. And I just can't wait to get to the next story sometimes.
What do you enjoy or hate about the writing process?
I tell you, it gets real stressful after editing. I like the editing process in general because you get someone else's input
Mm-hmm.
and perspective on your writing.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, it kind of gets, I don't know, for me, it just gets a little stressful. I think it's for the, because of the release process. You know, I'm always second guessing myself and thinking, you know, wow, I don't know if this book is ready. I don't know if I should be putting this out, but I've told people it's coming. And
Gotcha.
you know, so it gets a little stressful sometimes at that point. But, you know, I've learned to press through and to let the book go. You know, I guess sometimes I just want to hold on to it because once you release it, you know, it's open for criticism.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably the most difficult part is the release. But now I love the writing part of it, the initial writing part of it, where I'm developing the characters and the plot and figuring out who's going to do what and why and all of that. And I even, like I said, I do enjoy the editing process as well.
Okay. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh my gosh, in 5 years, I hope to have a larger platform. I really do, because I think the stories that I tell are needed. Somebody needs them, otherwise they wouldn't be on my heart to write.
Mm-hmm.
I hope in 5 years to actually have some nonfiction writing done. I have some nonfiction that's on my mind and my heart to write that is related to an organization, a nonprofit that I want to found. So in 5 years, I would hope that nonprofit is really off the ground and that that one nonfiction book becomes a number of other books from that. So I want to continue writing fiction, but I also have some nonfiction and some ministry aspirations that I want to get into.
Okay. Where can readers get in touch with you?
I do have a website. It is darlissbatchelor.com. I can be found on Facebook. I believe it's Books by Darliss. And just my personal profile, Darliss Batchelor, is also available for people to get in touch with.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to say before we close?
I wanted to just thank you for the opportunity to sit and talk with you about my books and about myself as an author. I appreciate that. And I just wanted to just say thank you for that. And also to all the readers, you know, to check me out at darlissbatchelor.com and just see what kind of stories what I have to offer.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Queenie.
All right. This is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews. Happy reading. Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.